Hi, welcome to the Knitting Expat Podcast. This is episode 97 and welcome. My name is Mina and I am the host of this podcast, so welcome. I think I've already said that. Anyway, hello and welcome again to all new and returning viewers. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I really appreciate you guys coming to hang out every week. And like I said, I say this every week, but I do truly appreciate it, and also want to say a massive thank you to everyone who introduces themselves in the introduction thread. I don't have time or enough words to adequately reply to everybody individually one by one, but I do read them all. So yes, there's that. I'm coming to you from my home in New York, where I live with my husband, our 2 cats, and a soon-to-be-born baby girl, if she decides to show up at any point. And Hugo, one of our 2 cats, is my occasional, sometimes, almost always co-host, is wandering around, so he's probably going to come. Oh, he's on the table. So he's going to come and join us for a little bit, I think. Hey, buddy? People miss you when you're not on the podcast. I swear half the people who watch this just tune in to see him, so I am not at all offended if that is the reason why you are here. He is incredibly cute and adorable, and I genuinely think that he's just concerned that I keep talking to myself once a week and wants to come over and make sure I'm okay. Sorry I'm being a bit blown out. I think Hugo is kind of throwing the camera colours off a little bit. Hey buddy, you want to say hi? Yeah. So I'm currently 39 weeks and 5 days pregnant. So 2 days from my due date. My due date's this Friday. Although it's highly unlikely that she's going to be showing up on Friday. I've had very few sort of symptoms. You're just going to sit in front of the camera? Really? I've had very minimal contractions. I've had a few very, very mild ones to the point where I wasn't even sure if they were or weren't sort of contractions or not. Just felt like very mild sort of cramping. But no other real symptoms. My last doctor's appointment was on Thursday, and she said things are moving forward, things are progressing, and she, baby's in the right position, everything's going well, like all the signs are there, just waiting for contractions or water to break or something to happen to kickstart labour. So it's just a waiting game now. I have my next doctor's appointment tomorrow, and we'll see if things have progressed since last week. Hugo, that is not your toy. Come here. We'll see if things have progressed, and fingers crossed things will have moved along, and we'll see. My doctor did say that we could start thinking about doing an induction if necessary at 41 weeks, so we'll probably talk about that tomorrow as well, see what happens. But I was going to say I'm in no hurry, but I would rather she came sooner rather than later now, to be honest. I'm getting very uncomfortable, sleeping at night is very difficult, and it would be nice just to have her here now. I think we're about as ready as we're ever going to be. All of the major things on our to-do list is done, and we're as prepared as we're ever going to be at this point, and it's just, I have very little patience as it is, and now that it's come towards the end of the pregnancy, I am incredibly impatient for her to just get here now. Anyway, moving on, this is a knitting podcast, or mostly a knitting podcast anyway, so I will save the rest of the chatter for the end. But I do get a lot of questions about whether or not she's arrived yet, or how things are going and stuff like that, so I just thought I'd put that at the top of the episode for anyone who's interested. Last week, there were a ton of sirens, like way more than usual. It was incredibly strange, and I later found out after I'd uploaded and a few people had commented to let me know that there'd been a really big fire actually in the Upper East Side, which is the neighbourhood that we live in. I did a bit of a Google. Turns out the fire was about 5 blocks away from where we live, and 33 different fire departments responded. The fire started about 10 minutes before I started recording, which explains why there were so many sirens last week. So apologies if that ruined anyone's viewing experience. No one actually complained, thankfully. Most people were very understanding about the situation. Hugo, that's not for you. So So yeah, thank you so much to everyone for being so understanding about that, and hopefully this week will be slightly less, slightly fewer sirens. A few other quick little announcements. I made another update to the vanilla sock recipe pattern that is out there, and that's Mina's vanilla sock recipe, not the Beyond Vanilla socks. I made another update to that pattern to include a generic German short row set of instructions. So in most of my patterns and in the vanilla pattern, you get the German short row instructions for the 3 sizes that are in that pattern, and usually it tends to be the standard 56, 64, 72 stitch socks. And that's the case in the vanilla pattern anyway, but I've included a generic set of instructions so that you can use the short row heel for whatever stitch count you use for your sock. So for example, if you do a 60 stitch sock or a 68 stitch sock, that's not quite the standard, then you can use that pattern, that version of the short row pattern for your heel without having to adjust your stitch count and stuff like that. So that is now in there, and it should be updated for both the vanilla sock recipe standalone pattern and as part of the New York collection ebook for the pattern club that I'm doing. Both places should be updated now, and I did send out an update notification, but just wanted to let you know again here in case you missed it. So that's there as well. And also my little nugget sweater pattern is now finally available for download, purchase and download on Ravelry. Thank you so much for everyone who's been so supportive with that, and for everyone who's already purchased it. It's one that I've been working on for a while. If you've been watching the podcast, you'll know I knit the first version of it back in October, I want to say. I think it was October last year. And I've knit 2 other versions since, and it's been test knit and tech edited. So it's my first garment design, so even though it's for a little baby, it was quite exciting for me to do that. It's not something I've ventured into before, and I think I have a few ideas for a couple of other little baby knits as well, so I'm looking forward to working on those at some point. We do also have a coupons code thread in the Ravelry group, which is Knitting Expat Podcast on Ravelry. I forgot to mention, you can find links to everywhere that you can find me online below the video on YouTube, in the episode thread, in Ravelry, and in the show notes. And those are all linked wherever you find this video. You'll find links around the video to everywhere else. So it should be pretty easy to find everything that I talk about. So we have a coupon code thread in the group on Ravelry, so make sure you head over and check that out. And like I said, I don't announce the coupon codes on the show anymore for the most part, just because otherwise I would be sat here for ages just rattling off codes to everybody. One other thing I wanted to mention really quickly was a new sort of crowdfunding campaign. I don't know, you may or may not have already heard about it, but the lovely Verena, who's the Wool Club, and Hannah, who has the Hannah on the Road podcast, they are working together as a collaboration to create a new knitting book called Woods. And they're based out of Germany, and from what I can understand and from what I do understand of what they're doing, is they are putting together a book of knitting patterns showcasing natural and maybe for the most part lesser known about yarns from Europe. And they've started their crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo, and if you'd like to know more about it or help support their campaign, I'll include a link to their I'll include a link in the show notes and in the episode thread to their Indiegogo page, and also a link to Hannah's podcast, Hannah on the Road podcast. Her latest podcast episode, I think it's number 9, she goes into a lot of detail about Woods and what it is and the different patterns that are going to go into it and the yarns they're using. And she goes into a lot more detail, much more than I could do on this podcast right now. So I'll include links to all of those in, like I said, the episode thread and the show notes. So if you are interested, head on over and check that out. I also really quickly at the beginning of the episode wanted to announce the winners for the crochet kits that I launched the giveaway thread for last week. I said I'd draw prizes this week. So the beginner kit went to post number 29, and that was Handbag Crazy, and it's Sandy, so congratulations Sandy. And the intermediate kit went to post number 100, and that's NALZOLA, Nancy, so congratulations Nancy. if you two can both get in touch with me, let me know that you've seen this and send me your email address, then what I will do is I will contact Claire with your email address and details, and she will contact you to arrange, actually, no, if you send me your email address and your mailing address, then I'll send those on to Claire, who is offering this, who is sponsoring this giveaway, and she will, Hugo, people do not want to see a close-up of your bum. Get it out. She will send it directly to you guys, because the packages will be coming from the UK, and it will definitely get to you much faster than waiting for them to be sent to me, for me to then send them to you. Isn't that right, Hugo? Speaking about packages, I've sent out most of the prizes now from last week's announcements, from the Cozy Schlanket Mystery Knit Along and the 12,000 subscriber giveaway. There was one person left to get in touch with me from the Cozy Schlanket Mystery Knit Along, and that was the Geektastic Fibers prize package, and the winner of that one was Kittenster, and that's Brenna, number 264. So Brenna, if you see this, please get in touch with me with your address so I can try and get that out to you as soon as possible. If I don't hear from you by the next time that I podcast, I will draw a new winner for that prize package, just because I want to get it out to you, and I want to, you know, it should go to someone who watches the podcast. And I know people are busy and you don't always get a chance to watch them when they first come out, so I'm going to give you a couple of weeks to respond to that. And you'll probably have a little bit more than a week between now and the next time I podcast, because I'm not entirely sure if I'll be recording next week or not. Okay, so that's everything in terms of announcements and information and stuff like that. I'm sorry if that was a bit long, but we will now move on to finished objects. I actually have quite a few things to talk to you guys about this week. We have finished objects, we have works in progress, acquisitions. I have a review for you guys this week and another giveaway. Knit along news, Q&A, which is actually, I have quite a few questions this week to answer, and then rounding off with a week in review. So I'm going to jump right in. Like I said, this is probably going to be quite a long episode, but at the same time, I don't know if I'll be recording next week, and if I do record next week, it'll probably be a short one. So yeah, so just bear with me, skip the bits you don't want to watch. It's just that simple. So for finished objects this week, first things first is the Mariam hat and cowl that I knit for my mum. I'll pop the hat on. This is the hat, and then the matching cowl. All the ends have been woven in, I just actually need to trim the yarn ends. So this is the set, the hat and cowl set, and I knit this on 5mm needles, which is US 8. These are my own designs as part of the Mariam collection that I did last year, and it's just lovely cables and ribbing and stuff like that. And it's knit out of the Neighbourhood Fibre Company in their Studio Worsted base, which is 100% superwash merino and worsted weight yarn, in their Del Rey colourway. So take it off to show you. Sirens. Hopefully not as many as last week. This is what it looks like. So you got one big sort of chunky cable and then some smaller braided cables, and it's the same on the other side. Hugo, seriously, come on, let's get the bum out of the way. So I'm going to show everyone the cowl. And I love how the colours are sort of swirled in the cowl. And then in the hat, we have the same cables. And because the stitch count is slightly different, the pooling is worked out slightly differently. So it's just interesting to see how that works. But they go together, and I'm glad that they're done. They're blocked, ends woven in time for my mum to get here next week, and she'll have some nice new knitwear to wear when she's here. The next finished object I have to show you is another pair of socks for the club, and this is more than likely going to be the second month's installment, and the yarn for this one was given to me by the ever so lovely Kristen of Yarngasm Podcast and the Vullenvine Yarns. She gave this yarn to me as sort of like a welcome to New York gift before Christmas when we first got here, and I thought it was appropriate to use it for the New York collection, considering she's a New York based indie dyer. and you know, the sentiment behind the gift as well. So this is on her Volca base, which is her 80-10-10 Superwash Merino Cashmere Nylon base in her Not a Creature Was Stirring colorway, which I absolutely love this colorway. So like rusty oranges, so like aqua blue greens, bits of brown, some cream in there. It's just nicely speckled and variegated at the same time. And again, a really simple, fun texture pattern to work with this pair of socks as well. So I'm really chuffed with how these have turned out. So that's 3 months worth of socks that I've finished now for the club. So I'm on track. I'm on track to get them all done. I'm kind of at that point now where I'm trying to get as many of them done as possible before baby arrives, so that I have, so if things slow down, that I won't fall behind on getting the samples knit up for the patterns to be finalised. I'll talk more about that when I come to works in progress. But my final finished object, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably were expecting this, is, seriously? What's all the beeping about? It's a baby blanket that I was working on last week. The crochet baby blanket. So that's finished. And I absolutely love how this has turned out. I don't know if you can see me through this, but that's just about managed to get it all onto screen there. It turned out bigger than I expected. Actually, no, I'd done the maths and the calculations based on my gauge and stuff, and I'd figured out that actually this was going to be roughly how big it would be, but seeing it, it looks bigger than I expected it to be. So it's about 27 inches wide by about 38 inches long. So I started at this end. I cast on or chained on, however, I don't actually know what the crochet term is, but I started with a chainless single crochet foundation row, and then I went into the granny stripe blanket pattern by Attic 24. So I started with 92 stitches, went into the Attic 24 sort of pattern that everyone's familiar with, and so I started with this red section. I did 10 rows in the red, then I did 6 rows blending the red and orange together. So the red is Geektastic Fibers in her Red in My Ledger colorway. And then like I said, did 6 rows in the red and orange together, and then 6 rows just the orange. And the orange is a Lime Brand Sockies in the Circus Peanut colorway. And sorry, this is all fingering weight held double using a H hook, which is 5mm. So I went from the orange to the orange and yellow held double for 6 rows. Then the yellow on its own held double 6 rows, and the yellow is a Regia 4-ply, just a solid colour. Then yellow and green held double for 6 rows, then green on its own for 6 rows, and the green is a single ply by Primrose Young Company in the Kryptonite colourway. Then green and blue held double for 6 rows, then the blue on its own for 6 rows, and the blue is also by Primrose Young Company on her Adelaide singles base, so the singles are her Adelaide singles. And the blue is, sorry, got something in my eye, Don Draper. And we've got this blue and sort of purplish colour held double for 6 rows, followed by the purplish colour on its own for 6 rows, and this purpley pink colour is Luna, also on Adelaide singles by Primrose Young Company. And then went into a darker purple with the lighter pinky purple mixed together, and then ended with 10 rows of just the darker purple. And this darker purple is Palouse Fibre Company in the BFL sock base in the Elderberry colourway. So at the beginning and end I did 10 rows of the red and the purple, and everything else is 6 rows of the colours. I did more of the red and purple at the ends just because they were only going to be blending once rather than twice as all the other colours do, and I just wanted to balance out the colours a bit more throughout the blanket. So that's the coloured yarns that I used. And then for the edging, someone commented on my video last week and suggested I try a scalloped edge, which will make it look a bit like clouds, which would be quite appropriate with a rainbow blanket, which is what I did. I love that idea. Also, Adrian from the Freakish Lemon podcast, he recently put together a set of beginners crochet tutorials, on his channel, which I will link in the show notes and in the episode thread for you guys as well. I used his tutorial on how to do a single crochet edging, which I'll link that specific video for you as well. So I did that first. I went around the whole thing and did a single crochet edging, and then did the scallop edging, and I'll link the tutorial for the scallop edge that I used as well. There's a bit of fudging involved because the yarn I used for the edge was also by Primrose Yarn Company on her now discontinued Sport Base in the Snow Owl colourway. But because I was holding sport weight double and the rest was fingering weight held double, I used the same hook size, but I did have to sort of fudge the placements a little bit with the single crochets just so it wouldn't pucker or it wouldn't like ripple too much. But it worked out pretty well, and with blocking it lays nice and flat, and I'm absolutely chuffed with how this has turned out. I love it so much. I've never been a massive fan of crochet, but I actually really like how this turned out. Definitely something I'll do in future, I think, for baby presents for other people, or maybe do, I might decide to do a scrappy granny striped blanket at some point. I'm not sure I'm in the mood to do one now, but I really liked how this worked up. It used up yarn really quickly. It was just good fun. It was really good fun. And what else was I going to say about it? That's everything I had in my notes about it. Oh, that was it. A few people were saying that the granny striped blanket isn't necessarily great for babies because, you know, their fingers and toes can get stuck in the holes, and that's true. But at the same time, I've got plenty of blankets for the baby, and this could be something that just goes on top of another blanket for added warmth if necessary. I could use just like a thinner muslin blanket and then put this on top to stop her toes getting stuck in it or something. But also I think it's quite good like in the stroller or something, because you get those little clips that you can attach to pacifiers or toys and stuff, and then I could always like attach those clips to here to stop the toys falling out of the pram or her losing her pacifier or dummy or whatever. So I think that it could be quite handy potentially. But yeah, there we go. I'm not sure I'm completely convinced or completely converted to crochet, but I still prefer knitting. But it's definitely something I always wanted to develop a bit better, because I say a bit better. It was always something I wanted to know how to do properly, I guess. I'd done crochet a couple of times before, never really enjoyed it much because it always hurt my wrist. I've actually started holding the crochet hook slightly differently, which actually helps me go faster, funnily enough, and also reduces the movement in my wrist, so I'm not moving too much, and so it's not as painful. So this is a finished blanket, and so it gets to go on her little shelf of blankets, handmade blankets that she now has. She has quite a few, both handmade and store-bought, so this will go on that shelf in her bedroom. Right, so that's it for finished objects. I know I have a shawl design that I finished last week and didn't show you, but I'm going to hold off and show you guys that probably in March, which more than likely is the next time I'll do a proper podcast, because I'm planning on releasing it around then as well, so I think it would make more sense at this point to wait and show it off then. Then you guys can't see, but Hugo is like sat right here sleeping, leaning against some of my finished objects. I'm gonna take a quick break and grab water, and I'll be back. So back again. I've sort of changed the camera zoom a little bit, so you might be able to see Hugo's little head over here. Okay, so back now with works in progress, and I only have 2 to show you today. I do have that sport weight hat still on the needles, but that's in my hospital bag. Like I explained last week, I'm not going to work on that anymore until I'm at the hospital. But what I do have on the needles is a pair of socks in my rose bag, and this is another one for the Sock Pattern Club, and this is being knit out of Sweet Sparrow yarns, the lovely Julie, on her nut hatch base in her Garden Rose colourway. Sorry, I can't get any closer to the camera right now, so hopefully you can see that. It's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend, and this is beautiful sort of peachy colour with specks of greens and some pinks in there as well. Really beautiful, subtle subtle colours, as I've spoken about before. And this pair of socks is very close to being completed. And again, I won't show you the front, so as not to give the pattern away, but you can see how that knits up. And there we go. And yeah, I really love how this yarn has worked up. It's super lovely. It is so lovely to work with. I am very close to being done. I'm about 4 pattern repeats away from starting the toe. And yeah, I'm just absolutely loving working with this yarn, and I'm really looking forward to getting these blocked and photographed. I showed Julie the socks in progress over the weekend when I saw her, and I'm really glad that she's liking how they're working up as well. So there's that, and that'll probably be finished later today. And then I'm working on another new design in this project bag. So this one, sorry, I should have mentioned, the needles I'm using on these socks is my 2.25mm US size 1 high sharps in the 40-inch cable length. So in this bag, let me just grab the yarn out so I can show you. I was sent at the end of last year, whilst we were living in our temporary accommodation in New York, 2 skeins of this beautiful natural coloured alpaca wool blend sport weight yarn, and this is the tag that came with it. It's Salpaca. So Sal is a Suffolk sheep, and so it's 75% wool from Sal and 25% alpaca. It's sport weight, 4 ounces, 300 yards. And it's the sheep and alpaca are grown in New York State, and this was sent to me by the lovely Miriam, whose farm the fibre came from. So the tag says the animals who grew this fibre are raised in New York, yarn milled at Morningstar Fibre in North Carolina, and hand washed, cool to lukewarm, lay flat to dry. And she has a Etsy shop, theconstantthread.etsy.com, which I'll have linked in the show notes, where you can buy this and some of the other yarns that she creates, I guess is probably the best way to put it. And then I'm also, I'm designing a shawl with that yarn as the main colour, and then I'm also using these 3 colours. Trying to get all the tags out. Are you helping me, Hugo? These 3 colours as contrast colours. Oh jeez. Sorry. There we go. Hey, oops, sorry. These 3 colours of these are Finnish yarns that I picked up when I was in Helsinki last summer. You may have seen, if you were watching the podcast back then, you'll have seen. But these were little mini skeins of a worsted weight yarn, so slightly thicker than the sport weight, but I think it will work for what I have in mind. And it is by, this is the yarn company. Focus. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but it's on their Arni base, AARNI. It's about 210 meters per 100 grams, and these are about 20 gram minis. So it's about 40 meters in each of these, and I'll be using them for contrasting stripes in the shawl. So the red one is dyed with cochineal. The blue one is dyed with natural indigo, and the green one is dyed with Japanese indigo and brown knotweed. So naturally dyed yarns for the contrasting colours. Alright, so now I've talked all about the yarns, let me show you what the shawl is looking like. And I only just cast this on yesterday, so it's not looking like much right now. But let's see. I'm using my Knit Pro Zings on 4mm Knit Pro Zings, which is the US 6. So the cable on these are a little bit kinked up from having been in the packaging for so long. I haven't used these in a while. But this is what it's currently looking like. I'm not sure how well you can tell what's going on here, but it's kind of a chevron sort of pattern. And I'm keeping it quite simple. I kind of want the yarn to speak for itself, but also to give it a bit of a texture, something that's going to give it quite a graphic look at the end with the contrast colors that are going to go in, and I think it's going to look quite nice, I hope. This is the shawl that I knit a version of using the grey alpaca yarn last year, if you recall. I called it a failed design at the time because it just didn't work the way I had imagined. So I've gone back, I've revisited the design, I've changed a few things about it, and it's working out much better this time around. I'm definitely liking how it's working in this yarn, and the modifications that I've made as well. So really looking forward to working on that. And the reason why I cast that one on, I had 2 other shawl designs that I'm sort of pondering at the moment. But the reason why I cast that one on is because out of the 3 options, out of the 3 shawls, it's the most mindless. And I figured if the baby's going to be coming along at any point, it's probably the one I'm going to be able to work on initially. You know, it's going to be one that I'll have the brain space for in the first few weeks until things ease up a bit. Okay, so moving on. We're now going to come on to acquisitions, and this will be interesting because I'm going to have to reach over Hugo to get things, and he may or may not try and grab stuff as I move them. But so moving on to acquisitions, the first thing is actually a little present for the Nugget, and this was given to me by the lovely Julie of Sweet Sparrow Knits, who I've also already mentioned, and Jacqueline of Brooklyn Knit Folk. I had some friends over, some knitting friends over at the weekend, and they came as well, and they brought this for the Nugget, which they'd made, which is so adorable. This is this really cute little Birds of Happiness mobile attached to a embroidery hoop, and it's perfect. Colours go perfectly with the baby's room, and just in terms of my colour sense in general. And you can probably see Hugo in the corner there eyeing it up, trying to decide what to do. You're not going to go for it, are you, buddy? You're going to be a good boy. But yeah, so this is going to be hung up in her bedroom at some point. For now, I think I'm going to stick a hook on her bookcase and have it hanging from the bookcase until we get her a crib. We don't have a crib for her at the moment. We weren't sure how it would fit with the furniture we already have, so we were going to wait until she actually needs a crib to get one. No, he thinks it's for him. No, it's not for you. But yeah, so that's really sweet, and thank you so much. It was actually something I've been thinking about doing, was creating a mobile for the baby, but now I don't have to. I have a beautiful one that was handmade by friends. So go there, away from Hugo. Then next up, I have the only acquisition this week to show you that I actually purchased, which was a set of needles. I got a pair of Chigu US size 1 2.25mm Chigu lace needles for socks. I have Chigu's red lace needles in 2.5 and 2.75, so the US 1.5 and US 2s for socks, which I've used, but I've never got the US size 1s, and considering that's my favourite size for knitting socks, I thought that was a bit strange. And I do quite like these needles for socks, so I got the size 1s to try out and see how I like those for socks. So the next pair of socks I cast on, I'll probably be using these, and yeah, so that's the only thing that I've purchased myself this week. The rest is stuff that was sent as yarn support for upcoming designs, and some stuff for review. So I'm going to go over that really quickly as well. First up, got some more lovely yarn from the wonderful Kelsey of Primrose Yarn Company. Kelsey and I have been chatting quite a lot lately about all sorts of different things, and we've become quite good friends, I think. And something that she sort of raised with me is this idea that she's had for a collaboration for later this year, in sort of like autumn, fall time. And I was like, as soon as she told me anything about it, I was like, I'm totally on board with that. That sounds great. And so we talked about yarns and ideas and stuff, and she sent me these beauties to work with for that design. So these are all on her, let me get this right, I believe it's called her Jasper DK. Yeah, it's her Jasper 3-ply DK weight yarn. Try and get get these up close. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen a picture with these on there. And so this is going to be for an upcoming shawl design, for a collaboration that, like I said, I'm working on with Kelsey. And this is a design that I have the idea sort of planned out. I still need to finalize the actual shape of the shawl and the construction and stuff like that. So for that reason, I haven't cast this one on yet, because it still needs a bit of thinking behind it before I actually cast it on. So the colours that she sent me, this one is in her Snow Owl colourway, which I absolutely love, and I used this colourway in the sport weight that she sent me for the edging on the blanket, which, by the way, I had more than enough of that yarn left over that I can knit like a jacket or something for the baby, which I think I'll be doing at some point as well. And this orange one is a spice curry, or curry spice, spice curry, which is beautiful sort of rich autumnal orange colour, which is perfect for the time of year that this is going to be released. This pattern is going to be released. So this is way in the future project planning for this one. Then, okay, excuse me for reaching because it's over at the very corner of the table. Some more lovely yarns arrived in the mail this week for pattern support, for yarn support rather, sorry. And these are, the next bunch I'm showing you is for the New York collection. And so I was sent some lovely yarn by Christina of the Cozy Knitter to use for one of the designs. And so this is the set she sent me. It's the New Horizons colorway. It's a beautiful sort of sunsetty colors. It goes from yellows, oranges, reds, blues, purples, yeah, and sort of stripes back and forth between those colors. And then there's a corresponding blue mini skein to use for heels, cuffs and toes. So this is going to be a fun pair of socks. I actually already have my skein wound up, ready to go to cast on. This, she sent an extra skein as a giveaway prize for you guys, so I'll be using this as one of the giveaways in the knit along. What I will probably do is I will probably have this as a giveaway prize in the month or two before the month where I'm releasing the pattern that I actually use this yarn for, so the winner could potentially use the same yarn if they wish when that pattern is released. I think that's kind of what I'm going to do with this one. So on top of sending me the two skeins of this, she also sent this one, which is her Antique Roses colorway. This is also on her, so they're all on her 80/20 Superwash Merino Nylon Bliss base. So this is her Antique Roses colorway, and she sent this for me to knit something for the Nugget, something for the baby. And I think what I might do with this is knit her a dress. I think one of those like top down short sleeve dresses might be quite nice in a self-striping yarn. So yeah, that's my thinking behind that. And then I could use the contrast for like the ribbing around the neck and the hem and the sleeves, stuff like that. So that's what I'm thinking with that one. So that's just an idea right now. So those were some lovely things that came in the mail. And the other thing that came in, so this is the last yarn I was waiting for the sock club, was from Nomadic Yarns. The lovely Ashley agreed to send me some yarn to use for the club, and she asked me which colours, which yarn of hers I would like, and I sent her a few ideas of the ones that I liked that I thought would work well with the design, and told her to choose which she wanted to send me. So it'd be a bit of a surprise. I was like, I'll leave it up to you to decide which one you send. They'll all work perfectly fine. And Ashley, being amazingly generous as she is, actually sent me all of them. So incredibly kind of her to do that. And they are all absolutely stunning. I love working with Ashley's yarn. I've knit a pair of socks out of her Get Lucky colorway on her Brit sock base, which are some of my favorite socks. Really love them, really love how they knit up. And she sent me two on her Brit sock base and one on her Trusty sock base. So I'll talk you through those now. So this one is on her Trusty sock. This is Poolside, the colorway. And this is 462 yards, 100 grams, 75 Superwash Merino, 25% nylon. And I really love how bright and springy these colors are. And this one is called Spring Fling. This is on her Brit sock, which is her BFL nylon 80/20, 400 yards and 100 grams. And it's a really sort of plump, high twist BFL nylon blend. I really love this base. And these colours again are really fun. And the last one, you may recognise this colourway, it was very popular last year, is Rhinebeck Sweater Weather. And this is also on her Brit sock, BFL nylon base as well, same as the last one. So I'm not entirely sure which one is going to be cast on for the design. It'll be one of these three, obviously. But I'm toying between these two, Spring Fling and Poolside. Depending on which month I end up offering, doing the pattern with this yarn for, might determine which colorway I go for, or which design ends up going with. I'm still deciding between, because I have two of the designs that are going to be knit up obviously in self-striping yarn. One will be from the Cozy Knit and one from Ashley Nomadic Yarns. I still haven't finalised which one is going to be for which, so once I do that, then I think I'll be able to figure out which colourway I'm going to use. So yeah, so that's what came in the mail in terms of yarny stuff for me and pattern support and stuff like that. The next thing I have to show you is stuff that came in for a review. I was contacted a couple of weeks ago by the lovely people at Knit Crate, asking me if I wanted to be one of their ambassadors, I guess, or something, or work with them and basically do a monthly review of their box of their Knit Crate that comes in. And I think what I'm going to do in future is I will do the reviews as a standalone video this month, just because frankly I don't have the time to do another video right now. I'm just going to include it with the podcast this week. If you're not interested, you can just skip ahead. But what I will probably do in future, like I said, is I will do the reviews as standalone videos. And this month they surprised me by sending me 2 boxes. They were only I was only expecting the main Knit Crate box, but they also sent me a sock box as well. So if you stay tuned, I'm going to do a review for you guys of what comes in the boxes. I will also include a link in the show notes and episode thread where you can sign up if you want to sign up for Knit Crate. I'll give you more information in a minute about it. If you want to sign up for the Knit Crate, there's an affiliate link where I get like a small percentage if you sign up using that link. And there's also a coupon code for you guys where you get 20% off your first order as well. So stay tuned for that. So a little bit about Knit Crate first. If you don't know or haven't heard about it, Knit Crate is a monthly yarn subscription service. So every month you get so for the Knit Crate main, which is the original sort of subscription that you can get, each package includes skeins of premium yarn, a beginner and intermediate / advanced pattern, a bonus extra item, which can either be something edible or something like a soothing extra, they call it sometimes, and you also receive exclusive promotional codes, etc. And also it comes with flat rate shipping worldwide, which is great. And then their sock box, each package of that includes a skein of premium sock yarn, an awesome pattern to knit up, a bonus extra item, again same as with the main box, plus again you get exclusive promotional codes, and it's the same flat rate shipping worldwide as well for that. So like I said, they've sent me one of the main box and one of their sock box. And like I said, complete surprise this month, was not expecting that, was just expecting the main one. So I'll just talk you through quickly what came in the main box. So you get a big old card with information on what is actually in the box on the side here. This side has the codes on it, which is why I'm not showing it. And it actually tells you what the retail value is of everything in your box. And so you can see how much value you're getting versus the price that you've paid for the box. The one thing I totally forgot to do was actually check how much the boxes are. So let me quickly bring that up on my computer whilst I am talking to you about this. So the yarn this month was provided by Mrs. Crosby, which is a really, really lovely yarn company actually. It's one that I really enjoyed working with in the past. I've used her sport weight before. So the main Knit Crate box The monthly plan is $39.99 plus $4.95 for shipping and handling. So just under $45 for this bag, and according to the card, the value of everything in the box is $66, so you're saving quite a bit of money based on what's included. And then you get slightly more of a discount if you go for a 3-month plan or a 12-month plan. The cost per box goes down accordingly. And then, okay, so the yarns, sorry, it's quite loud outside. So this is the yarn that was sent. It's, like I said, Mrs. Crosby Mrs. Crosby Loves to Play on her steamer trunk base, which is 100% superwash merino wool. It's 164 yards in 100 grams. It's a worsted weight yarn, I believe. Yeah, it's a worsted weight yarn, but it's quite a dense yarn as well. There's a really sort of high plump twist to it. And really beautiful colours. So this one is Garden House. This one is Smitten, this lovely sort of cream colour. And this blue is Lagoon. And seriously, they could not have picked better colours for me. I absolutely love these colours together. The pattern that came with the box this month is for a patchwork purse. There's 2 versions. There's a mitered square version and a triangle version. I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to be knitting this because knitted purses aren't really my thing. But I don't have a lot of worsted weight in my stash, and I think these 3 colours go so beautifully together. I actually think these would make a really beautiful snow day shawl together as well. So I'm probably going to hang on to this for a while and decide what I'm going to make with it. But it feels absolutely beautiful. It's really sort of next to skin soft. It'd be great for like a baby knit as well, I think. There's so much you could do with this. It'd be good for colour work as well. It's like really nice stitch definition. And the soothing extra that came in the package this month, I opened my one up so you can see it, is a bath bomb. It's a lavender bath bomb. I'm not sure what is it, in a heart shape with some lavender in it. So I opened this one up so you can see what it looks like. And this is going to be so handy after baby's born. I'm going to enjoy using that, I think. So this is the main box, and like I said, I've decided to keep this one. I'm not sure you can see the address or anything there. But they also, like I said, they also sent me a sock box. And this also comes with a card inside explaining everything that's on the back. And it says the total retail value of this sock box is $31.74. Whereas if you purchase the sock box from Knit Crate, it's $24.99 plus $4.95 shipping and handling. And again, you get the same sort of deal where it is cheaper if you buy the 3-month plan or the 12-month plan. But like I said, those will be linked in the show notes for you so you can see what those are. And it comes with a sock pattern as well, same as the other one. The only thing is, it's one of those situations where the pattern goes into your Knit Crate account. So you don't get it on Ravelry necessarily. So this one also came with a lavender bath bomb, but I've left this one all nicely packaged up for you guys there. And the yarn is also by Mrs. Crosby. Mrs. Crosby Loves to Play. And this is on her train case base. It's 55% superwash merino wool, 15% nylon, and 30% Outlast viscose. 425 yards in 100 grams in the Enchanted Garden colorway. It's this beautiful, beautiful sort of creamy base with blues and greens speckled throughout. Again, very much my colours. Absolutely love these colours. And yeah, and the Outlast viscose is a unique fibre that extends the life of your socks, and it creates a really lovely sort of sheen to the yarn as well, and it's super soft. The yarn is so soft. And what I've decided to do with this sock box, because I clearly do not have a shortage of sock yarn in my stash, and I thought I would offer this box as a giveaway on the podcast for you guys. Kind of share the love. It was a box I wasn't expecting to get. It was a little something extra that they sent me, and I want to share the love a little bit with you guys. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer this box as a giveaway, along with a copy of the New York sock collection, but the pattern collection. So depending on how soon I can get this out in the mail, it may end up being after the okay, let me finish explaining. So you'll get a copy of the New York Sock Pattern Club as well, that will be starting in March, as well as another sock pattern by the lovely Sarah, who is a Knotting Gnome Crafts and has a Knotting Gnome podcast. She has just released a new design called the Cape Cod socks, which I'll have linked in the show notes as well for you. So I'll be giving away a copy of her sock pattern, plus the New York Collection Sock Pattern Club, and this box to one lucky winner. What is likely going to happen is I'm going to have this giveaway run for a week. I will draw the winner next week. I'm going to go with the assumption that there won't be a podcast next week, because I'm hoping she will have arrived. But what I'm going to do is I'll just contact the winner directly and get your details. Then I can send you the sock pattern club, and Sarah can send you her sock pattern directly to you as well, to the winner. It may take me some time to get to the post office to mail this one out, but you should get it at some point, and you can always use the yarn for one of the sock pattern club's patterns this year if you would like to. So yeah, so that was just something I wanted to do to give back to you guys and sort of spread the love a little bit. So I think I pretty much covered everything I was going to say about Knit Crate. Like I said, in future I will do sort of like a standalone video for the reviews, and so like an unboxing and stuff like that to show it to you guys in more detail. Just this month I don't have the time to do that, so I hope you can appreciate it. And a little bit more about the Cape Cod socks from Sarah. This design comes in 5 sizes, and Sarah is donating $3 from the sale of each pattern to the International Rescue Committee throughout the month of February. So I really wanted to make sure I mentioned that this week as well. So I'll include a link to those socks in the Ravelry group as well. And so the prompt for this giveaway for the Knit Crate box with the patterns and everything will be: what yarn dyer / brand / fiber type are you most eager to try out and work with that you've never had a chance to work with? So that'll be the prompt in the thread. Nice and simple. You have to enter on Ravelry. YouTube comments will not count. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'll have the thread open for a week, and I'll draw a winner, and I'll contact the winner directly, just because I think it will be quicker that way, and I'm not anticipating actually having a podcast next week. Or if I do, like I said, it'll be quite a quick one. Knit along and giveaway news, there's not much additional to add. We have 2 knit alongs that are currently, well, 1 knit along that's currently running in the group, which is the Knitting Expat Designs year-long Cal. Again, there is a chatter and FO thread in the group, so you can go and check that out for details. And then the Sock Pattern Club will be starting on the 1st of March. There's early bird pricing of $15 for the whole collection, which gives until the 1st of March. From the 1st of March, the price will go up to $17 for the duration of the club, and then at the end of the club the price goes up to the full value of $19. I was also gifted a couple of patterns this week, and also gifted a copy for the podcast, so these are going to be banked for future giveaways. One is from Jen of Boston, who's Boston Jen of the Downseller Studio podcast, and that is her new shawl World of Difference. And the second is from Christina, the Cozy Knitter, and that's her copy. This is a copy of her Be My Valentine socks. So thank you so much to those ladies. So now for some questions and answers. Like I said, I've got about 6 questions to answer this week, so this section might be a little bit longer than usual. I'm going to actually just answer all of them, because like I said, if I record next week it'll be short and I won't get to questions. So first up is a question from Cottage Fibre, and she asks, her question is actually about the camera that I use to record. She says, I'm assuming you still have the Canon G7X, and she's asking how I feel about it capturing colours. She can tell from watching the podcast about how it does with focus and stuff like that, but she doesn't have a clue as to colour accuracy. And I feel like the colour accuracy is actually pretty good. I feel like maybe it might be a little bit more blown out in this setup right now than it is normally, than the colours are in real life, but for the most part I think the colour accuracy is pretty good. I really love the camera. It's the G7X Mark II is the one that I have. and yeah, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy this camera. It does pretty good at still photography as well as video, so I do recommend it. Then the next question is from Meg Fergie, and she says, "Hi Mina, I've just started knitting very basic plain vanilla socks and quite enjoy it. I've knit quite a few shawls previously and have an advanced beginner skill set. I would love to try knitting socks with contrast heel toe cuff, but can't find a good tutorial or video that goes into much detail. Can you detail how you do yours? Thank you, and I enjoy your podcast." Thank you so much. So how I knit contrasting heel toes and cuffs is really simple. You just start knitting with the next color. Like, it is nothing complicated. There is no trick to it or anything like that. Sometimes I find it helps to temporarily knot the yarn together if you're cutting the yarn, or you know, if you're adding a contrast. So okay, let's start from the beginning of the sock. You're assuming you're knitting cuff down. You haven't said which way, but the same sort of thing applies in either direction. You knit cuff down, you cast on with your contrast color for the cuff, knit your cuff. The only trick I would say, and this only applies if you're going from ribbing to stockinette, is once you finish the ribbing of the cuff, knit one round in stockinette before you switch to your main color for your leg. This prevents any sort of like little pearl bump blips showing up in your contrast color on your socks, but that's just an aesthetic thing. So you cut your yarn, you attach your main color yarn that you want to use for the leg of the sock, and you just start knitting. And if you find the tail ends are coming a bit loose or something, you can temporarily, like I said, knot them together, not too tightly, just enough that they don't keep coming out and like the stitches getting loose. So and then you knit the leg of your sock. When you come to start your heel, at least with my German short row heel method, if you're going to use a contrasting color yarn, you don't have to cut the main color. You just you leave the main color hanging on your work, and then you attach the contrast color to the next stitch on the heel side that you're going to start knitting. Knit your heel with the contrast color, cut it again with the German short row heel. If you're doing it with the contrast color, you cut the main color, the contrast color yarn, before right when you're gonna knit the last row of the heel. So you cut the contrast color yarn, and it'll be on the same side as when you started with the contrast color yarn. So then you can pick up your main color and just knit across the heel, the last row of the heel, and join back in the round. And there again, if you find the tails are getting a little bit loose and the stitches are getting a bit loose, you can just temporarily knot them until the end. Then you knit the rest of your foot. When you get to the toe, again, you just cut your main color yarn because you're done with that now. Join your contrast color for the toe, and then knit your toe and finish as normal. And there again, if you want to tie the ends together, you can. What I do at the end is I turn the sock inside out. As I'm weaving in the ends, I unpick the knots and then weave in the ends in opposite directions to kind of close up any gaps there. I do actually talk through this process in my German short row heel tutorial video, which you get a link to that with any of my patterns that include the German short row heel. So I hope that helped. I hope that wasn't too confusing. And then the next question I have is from Lizzie+6, and she actually has 3 questions. She says, the first is, do you ever knit a pattern sock out of a sock blank? Since the yarn from a sock blank is not straight, I have not knit a pattern sock because I'm not sure it would show up too well. I agree with you. I've knit a pattern sock out of a sock blank once and it really didn't show up. It was a slip stitch pattern as well, so maybe it'd be different with a textured pattern. But I find it takes quite a bit of, not so much concentration, but it takes my gauge gets a little bit tighter with a sock blank sock compared to a regular sock, just because I am pulling the yarn a little bit tighter to keep the tension and, you know, combat the kinkiness of the yarn. So I personally probably wouldn't knit a pattern sock out of sock blank socks, but there's no reason why you couldn't if you wanted to. Second, she says, I love that you have a gift knitting sock box and was wondering what size you typically make for a gift sock, especially if you do not know the recipient's shoe size. Okay, so I think it was last year, maybe the year before, I I took foot measurements, foot cutouts of all my friends back home, and my closest girlfriends, and my parents, and my brother, and Perry. And I feel like between them, I've got a range of foot sizes right there. And for the most part, for most of my friends anyway, their foot sizes range over 3 to 4, like the average sort of women's shoe size range. And pretty much, I realized I can knit the same size sock and it will fit all of them pretty well. So, and I do my foot, my socks by row counts. So what I'm telling you here works as row counts for my gauge. It might not be the same for you guys, but I find that between 60 to 65 rows on the foot, after I finish the heel and before starting the toe, and that's a German short row heel and my sort of rounded wedge toe that I use, which are included in all my patterns. 60 to 65 rows is pretty much good for most women. Most women's shoe sizes, assuming they are not especially small feet or especially large feet. 65 to 70 is what I normally knit for myself because I have slightly larger than average women's feet. For Perry, I normally do 70 to 75 because he wears a men's 10.5, I think it is. I think that's 10.5 UK. I don't know what that would be over here. In terms of shoe sizes, but basically for Perry I knit like usually around an inch longer than I knit for myself. I knit the same for my dad and for my brother and Perry's dad. So for most of the men in my life that I knit for, I knit the same size as I was knit for Perry, so he can always try them on, and if they fit him, then I know they'll fit any of the other men that I knit for. And I pretty much know my mum's foot size now. For my mum, I can usually get away with knitting a few rows shorter than I knit for myself. Her shoe size is about 2 sizes smaller than mine. So usually, again, around 60, 64 rows in the foot works for her. Having knit several pairs of socks now, and I kind of have my group of people that I knit socks for, essentially. I have, yeah, and I feel like that works. And then again, with the short row heel, I feel like it's a little bit more forgiving in terms of foot length. So I think that pretty much covers it. Like I said, because I have the cutouts for my friends' feet, and they're different sizes, if I find out someone's shoe size, I can sort of correspond that or sort of work backwards and see which foot cutout that works with the best if I want to be absolutely certain, and then I can use one of my friend's foot cutouts as like a rough guide for foot length as well on the sock. I hope that made sense. And finally, her final question is, how many pairs of sock knitting needles do you think you have? I just made the switch from DPN to Magic Loop and wanted to have a rough estimate of a good amount to stock up on. I always have many whips on the needles. Okay, I don't actually have, I have quite a few pairs of sock knitting needles, to be fair, but I don't think I have a crazy number. I have 3 pairs of the Chai Goos in 3 different sizes, so 1 US 1, 1 in 1.5, and 1 in a 2. I have, and those are all 40-inch cable lengths because I do mine 2 at a time. I have 2 pairs of high US size 1s in the 32-inch, which I got recently for doing concurrent sock knitting. So that's 5. I'm trying to keep count. I have 2 pairs of high sharps in 2.25 millimeters, US ones. I have 1 in 2.5 millimeter, and I have a pair of Knit Pro Zings in 2.25 millimeters, which I also really like. And these are all in 40-inch cable lengths. I think that's it. I may have another one, so I may have a 10th pair of needles. I'd actually have to go count and check. But 9 to 10 pairs of sock knitting needles is actually all that I have. I generally never have more than 3 pairs of socks on the needles at a time. I generally don't have more than 3 projects on the needles at a time. So actually having that many needles, sock needles, isn't such a problem for me. Or having to have that many needles isn't such a problem for me because I don't ever have that many whips on the needles. But, and the only reason I have so many is because I have 2 or 3 different brands of needles that I've wanted to try out that I enjoy and I like for different types of yarn. Yeah, and 3 of them are relatively recent purchases as well, so I had less beforehand. So I think that covers it, I hope. Basically, you need to have as many as you feel that you need to suit your knitting style, essentially. In terms of how many whips you want. Oh, just kicking me in the side here. Speaking of which, the next question is from Rokasi on Ravelry, and she says, Mina, does your family or Perry's have any special traditions or rituals when a baby is born? And I think that it's wonderful that your mum is able to visit and help with the adjustment that a new baby brings. No, I don't think there are any special traditions, at least none that I'm aware of. None that anyone's told me about. No, I don't think so. There's nothing specific that we do. Nothing really that I can think of. Like I said, no special, nothing that I would specifically sit here and go, yeah, no, that's definitely a tradition that we do every time a baby is born or something like that. The next question is from Vingirl, and she says, my question is kind of random. I've never noticed you wearing a wedding ring, and I was just curious about what's behind that choice. Nothing at all judgmental intended, just simply my curiosity getting the better of me. I actually don't mind at all. I do have a wedding ring and an engagement ring, and I absolutely love them both. It's a bit of a sad story. Okay, so my engagement ring is actually an antique ring that was Perry's grandmother's ring, that was left to him when she passed away, and his dad gave it to him to give to me when he wanted to propose. And it's a beautiful, like I said, antique ring, and it's a unique sort of shape. There's like 3 main diamonds, and it's like surrounded by a couple of smaller ones on either side. But because of the shape of it, a standard sort of wedding band just didn't work with that ring because it looked weird on my fingers or on my hand. So I didn't have a wedding band for a long time after we got married. And then one weekend when we were at home, this is back when we were in Dubai, we were getting ready for bed, and I felt something sharp on my hand. I looked down and my engagement ring had broken, and one of the smaller sort of surrounding diamonds had fallen out. I freaked out because this is an antique ring. It's not something that can be easily replicated or anything like that, and I was like seriously panicking. Thankfully, it was a day that we hadn't left the house, so Perry and I at like 11 p.m. going to work the next day, freaking out, trying to find this little teeny tiny stone in our apartment. And then I had a moment when I thought that that we were never going to find it. Like, the cats were looking at Perry like he was crazy because he was down on the rugs, like trying to look in the rugs. And the only thing I'd done that day out of the apartment was taking the rubbish out and throwing it down the chute, and I was adamant that that's exactly when I'd lost it, and it must have gone down the chute or something. And but never before in my life have I been so glad that we didn't do the dishes that day, because as I emptied the sink, I found the stone right at the bottom of the sink, just sat there. So I quickly sellotaped the stone to the ring and put it somewhere safe, and then we had to go get that repaired. And so the reason why I'd sort of stalled on getting a wedding band made, or getting a wedding band, was because I'd wanted to get one made that custom fit to the engagement ring, that fit around the curves of the engagement ring. But I'd been reluctant to go and just leave the engagement ring at a jeweler's to get it made. But since I had to take it in to get fixed, I was like, well, while I'm at it, may as well find out how much it would cost to get a band made to go with it. And it surprisingly wasn't all that expensive. So I got a wedding band made to go with it, and I've worn them ever since. Then I got pregnant. I started putting on weight. My fingers swelled up a little bit, and so over the summer when I was back in the UK, I actually got the wedding band cut off because I could start feeling that it was restricting. It was getting quite painful on my finger, and I think the wedding band was slightly smaller than the engagement ring, and just the way it turned out. So I thought if I got that cut off, then I'd be able to get the engagement ring off without having to damage it. So reluctantly, I got my wedding band cut off, but that's safe. Like, I have it somewhere safe, and But then by November it became very clear that the engagement ring was never coming off either, so I had to get that cut off as well. So both of those are safe with my parents-in-law in the UK, and after this baby's born and I've hopefully dropped some weight and my sort of size has somewhat stabilized a little bit towards the end of this year probably, I will get those fixed and resized to whatever size my hands are then, and I'll be able to wear them again. So that's the story behind why I'm not wearing anything right now. I do still feel a bit weird not having them there because I've worn them for so long. But yeah, so I had to, if you watch some of my older podcasts, you'll see I am wearing a wedding ring and my engagement ring as well. But just for the last few months, I haven't. So that's why. I really don't mind the question. Then I think that pretty much covers all the questions that I had to answer this week. So thank you so much for bearing with me. I know that was quite a lot of chatter about just people's random questions. And finally, I'm just going to wrap up with a bit of a week in review. So like I said before, I don't actually know if I said this, I may have mentioned it last week, but we had some friends over on Friday night. Perry had invited over a bunch of his friends from school who live in New York, and so that was really fun. We had pizza, there was beer, I had Diet Coke, and we played some card games and stuff and just chatted. It was just really, really nice. There was actually 11 of us in total that evening, which we later realised was the most amount of people we've ever had in our home since we got the cats. The cats have just never had that many people around before, and they managed pretty well. Hugo loved the attention. He absolutely loved being pampered and having so many people pay attention to him and play with him and stroke him and all that sort of stuff. Derek was a little bit more cautious. He kind of kept his distance. I was surprised actually. He stayed in the room for a lot of the time, but kind of kept his distance. He stayed away a lot, but he did pretty well. And then on Saturday, like I said, I had some of my knitting friends over. Who came over? There was Alison, there was Jacqueline from Brooklyn Knit Folk, Julie from Sweet Sparrow Knits, Tanya, Gabby from Once Upon a Corgi, and Denise from Yoshi and Lucy Knits. And again, the boys were pretty sociable, although this time the girls came over, it was during the day, so it's usually when they nap. So Derek was a little bit less sociable, and because Perry was in our bedroom working on stuff, Derek ended up spending most of the time in the bedroom snuggling with Perry on the bed. But again, they did really well with having people over and stuff, and again, Hugo loved the attention. And then on Sunday, one of my oldest / best friends from the UK is over in New York this week with her boyfriend, so they came over on Sunday to visit, and we went out for lunch, and it was really nice to catch up with them. And we saw them again last night actually for dinner. We went out to Five Guys for dinner on Valentine's Day, and then went and got cake from a deli nearby, and so that was a lot of fun. It was just really nice to catch up with her and see her and stuff. And she actually brought over a little care package from my group of friends back in the UK. It was a few little bits for the baby and a lot of chocolates and sweets for me and Perry, things that we can't get here, so that was very much appreciated. Sorry, it was one of the neighbours. Basically, we had a very social weekend, which is probably one of the last weekends, last chance we're going to have to do that before our baby arrives. And so it was nice to be able to do that and see everyone one last time before it's no longer just the two of us. And finally, my mum gets here next week on Wednesday. She arrives, her flight lands around midday, so fingers crossed all goes well. She'll be here by Wednesday afternoon. Looking forward to that. I am really hoping that the baby will have decided to have arrived by then, but we will see. Like I said, I have another doctor's appointment tomorrow, so we will see how that goes. And if she hasn't arrived by the end of the weekend, I have an ultrasound booked for Tuesday to just sort of see how she's doing. If I do go over June, make sure there's no reason to need to induce me sooner, or just to see how things are going and to plan basically based off of that. And I'm hoping not to have to go down that route, but we'll see. Whatever happens will happen. And yeah, so like I said, I don't know if I'll be podcasting next week, even if she hasn't arrived, because my mum is arriving on Wednesday, which is my usual podcasting day. If I do a podcast, it will probably just be a quick one to show you what I'm working on, what I finished, what I've cast on, and that will probably be and then anything that's come in the mail, and that will probably be about it. So it'll be a much shorter episode than this week. This week's a very long one. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I will link all of the podcasts that I've mentioned in this week's episode. I will try and link all the patterns that I've mentioned, and I'll try and link as much as I can in the show notes and episode thread this week, for it to be as thorough as possible. I'm going to say in advance apologies for slow responses to messages and questions and things like that over the coming weeks. And if you want to know what's happening with the baby and when she arrives and all this and that, then Instagram is going to be the best place to keep up with what I'm doing and what's happening in our lives. I am Knitting Expat on Instagram. Again, that's linked down below. So you can come on over and follow me there for baby updates as and when she arrives. And I'll also probably post on there when I'm next planning to do a podcast or something. We'll just see how things go. I think March is probably going to be quite a light month for podcasting, just because my mum's going to be here and then Perry's mum's going to be over for a couple of weeks at the end of the month. So I probably won't be getting back to a regular schedule until April, but I am hoping to have at least 1 or 2 podcasts in the first over that time anyway. They might just not be my usual format or as long as usual, so we will see. I will definitely be around, and you will definitely still see me. So right, I think that pretty much sums it up for this week. Thank you again for joining me, and if you have stuck through to the very end, bravo. This has been a long one. So I better get going. I need to tidy up this mess. I need to put the dishwasher on and call Perry so he can come home. I had to kick him out of the house so I can do this. Alright, so take care. Till next time, I will hopefully see you soon. Bye.